Aviation to order on March 6th, 8 a.m. Thank you all for coming. We will start with number one, approve minutes of February 7th, 2024 meeting.
To approve the minutes for February 7th, 2024. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded. Any discussion on changes, additions? Okay. All those in favor of approval?
Aye.
Opposed? We'll go to item 2, public comment on agenda items or any item under the jurisdiction of this committee. We'll start with Zoom. Does anybody on Zoom have any comments on any agenda items? Supervisor Hanson?
Thank you, Supervisor Gabbard and Chairwoman Gabbard. I'm very much looking forward to your items agenda 3A and 9 today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Supervisor Hanson. Anyone else on Zoom that would care to speak at this time? We'll move on to Director's Report, item 3. Did he have his hand up?
No, I just, anybody in the room has public comment.
Anybody in the room have public comments? Sorry. Item A, 2024 Airport CIP request update. Jim?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. After last month's meeting, we've done a fair amount of work kind of behind the scenes on looking at some other options aside from what went to the board in January for both fire truck replacement and the design engineering funding for the airport's fire station. We have looked on the used market for ARF truck replacement. We haven't found anything out there yet that would kind of meet our needs and requirements. Typically speaking, we'd like to, if we do find a used vehicle, we'd like to find something in the 2008 to 2010 range, so that it's not so old that it's already a 20-plus-year-old fire truck, but also that it's got some commonalities with our 2009 Stryker. There's a lot of great things that that vehicle already possesses that, mechanically speaking, we'd like to, in consulting with our mechanic, that we'd like to see for commonality's sake and maintenance purposes. But then also anything we do find on the secondary market, we want to ensure that the dealer that's reselling that has remediated all the environmental concerns and also retrofitted the truck to be able to utilize the new foams that have been certified by the FAA. So we are looking down those avenues. If we do find something, I think it'll be in the $700,000 to $800,000 range. Most likely on the used market, we're finding 2001, 2002 fire trucks, ARF trucks for around $400,000 or so. And so again, if we buy a 2001 fire truck, it's 23 years old today. So that's something that we're continuing to look at. We do intend to bring a CIP request back to the county board. However, we're trying to do all of our due diligence. We do feel as though there'll be a number of used trucks on the market now that we do have alternate foams that the FAA is certified, because we know a couple of airports in Wisconsin, one out in Eau Claire, and then another one in, I believe, Appleton's working on getting a new ARF truck as well, are getting new fire trucks. I think Eau Claire just took delivery on theirs. So likely their older trucks, their used trucks will be starting to hit the market in the next year or two. So we're kind of keeping an eye out on that. And as far as the fire station is concerned, we've been having some conversations with the Wisconsin Bureau of Aeronautics, BOA. We had a call with them on Monday about a number of CIP projects for the airport, not just the fire station or the truck. But in that conversation, we started to have the conversations again, which we've had in the past, about possible grant funding on construction of a new fire station. As far as the FAA is concerned, that is definitely a challenge. As we pointed out, we're not federally mandated to have an on-field fire station by the FAA. So there's really no provision for an airport that doesn't have a Part 139 certificate, which is to allow commercial airline service year-round, to qualify for grant funding. But there are some avenues that the AIP handbook, so Airport Improvement Program, FAA's AIP handbook, sets out all the guidelines for eligibility for funding. There are some kind of gray areas in there that if an airport can make a case that, like ARF equipment, for example, contributes greatly to the safety of the operation of the airport, that it can be eligible for funding. But we have to make that case to the FAA. So that would be something that would take some time and some serious effort to make that case. So we don't know what the funding or the funding levels could be out there just yet for the FAA. But the state did kind of say that they could be a funding source for the building itself, much like they were a funding source on the General Aviation Terminal facility that we're sitting in today. Their typical limit is 1.25 million on a building on any airport. That goes to GA terminals, maintenance facilities, and in our discussion on Monday, potentially an ARF station. I'm not sure if they've funded ARF stations on other airports throughout the state to this point, but it's something that they said they could consider. And it's something that we would like to continue, we will continue to explore. I think we talked about that originally when I was at Special Orders in January. Like, we are going to explore all the grant opportunities out there to help supplement future construction of the station. That said, at this point in time, I don't think we'll be able to get any grant funding on the design. So if we are going to move forward with that, and I think we need to sooner than later, we would still be coming back to the county board with a request for the design funding. One other note on the fire station is that we've had, since 1974, the original boiler in that station. That boiler has been having some issues in the last year or so, maybe 6 months especially since we've hit winter. And it's definitely time to replace it, more than time to replace it. It's 50 years old. And it's just been having a variety of issues that our facilities department has continued to keep it going. And even the firefighters over in the station have to continue to keep it going when it goes out. So that being said, we've got some quotes on retrofitting an actual boiler that the county owns that was, I guess, taken out of a different building. I don't know which building.
Out of our old terminal.
Is it the boiler?
Yeah.
I thought it was somewhere else. West Wing or the old terminal? The old terminal. And so there is a boiler that we have to reutilize. It would take some obvious HVAC mechanical work to install it. And they've already kind of run the calculations on if it would work for the fire station building, and they believe it will. So we've got one quote. We're waiting on another quote for the work to actually install a used boiler in the fire station, which would just get us by for the short term in order to kind of be able to let the long-term disposition of a potentially new station play out. So I just want to give you that update in case you hear anything about the firefighters, having to put a third and fourth layer on over there. We've had a lot of issues with the boiler. So that's kind of my CIP request update.
So just to remind this committee, February we decided to put a whereas clause in the original resolutions, Spirit Fund, Bond, General Contingency Fund, or Spirit Fund. That's what we had decided at the last meeting. So it's not on the agenda to change that. And Jim's plan is to bring those back to the committee and
And if I may, the request was made to put it on a Spirit Fund or ARPA's strategy commission meeting, and it was not allowed on the agenda. So I think all the committee knows that.
I think all of you know that. Okay.
If I could, sure. Jim, if, and I'm dealing in hypotheticals, if we were to not, say, have the fire station on site, and if we weren't getting the new fire truck, how much would that affect you trying to fill the aviation business park and potentially people that are already here with hangars and whatnot?
Well, it certainly could have an effect on existing tenants. I think our corporate operators primarily, and pretty much any operator on the airport, appreciates the fact that crash, fire, and rescue services on the field and the safety that provides in their operations in and out of this airport. But as far as the business park goes, we've got 50 acres on our side of the park available for development. That could be a fairly large development coming here in the future. Something like a cargo operator, for instance, would be a larger type aircraft. And they'd be something that would really, maybe if not require, be highly desiring an airport that are ARF service. So you don't see a lot of those types of operations at airports that don't have on-field crash, fire, and rescue. So it certainly would have an impact to our business development efforts in the park or otherwise. depending on what type of operator were to come
My point again, and we also talked about the safety for the people on South Side construction.
Yeah.
And that's a big
Yeah.
issue. Big issue, I mean, with no fire station.
I just, it bothers me a little bit that some board members forget that Oshkosh is actually part of Winnebago County. They think we're separate from Winnebago County.
We're not just worried
These are
about.
Winnebago County residents in my district
Yeah,
that get served by that fire station. So,
correct. And that's important.
yes.
So I feel like for the last couple of months, we've heard that that retrofitting an old fire truck to have the PFAS-free foam wasn't really feasible either. Because it wasn't companies that would certify that. There wasn't companies that could technically do it. Have you discovered something different, or was I mishearing that before? Retrofit.
Well, retrofitting like our 2009 Striker, for instance, is feasible. Retrofitting it to the extent that it can flow new foam. Cleaning it in order for the PFAS containing foam to be completely out of the system, we haven't found anybody that would. We found contractors that will clean it. Okay. They won't certify that the PFAS is totally gone. So we haven't found an environmental contractor that would do that. Again, there are other airports in the state that are exploring retrofitting the foam systems and basically taking out the foam, all the kind of plumbing in the truck that foam had ever touched, and installing new system on that truck with the foam tank and associated fixtures and plumbing that go along with it. I haven't got any hard and fast numbers from everybody else that's been exploring that. We're not looking to retrofit our 09 Striker at this point in time, but at some point we likely will. And so, you know, it's kind of two different avenues. Either you get the truck cleaned, and then, you know, I guess it's all up to each airport. If a contractor will say, yep, it's been cleaned out, and, you know, we can say that most of the PFAS is gone, but we can't say all of it. So environmentally, it becomes, you know, if you spray out of that truck with even the new foam, how much PFAS are you putting into the environment? I think there's no way to really know that. No one does seem to know that just at this point.
So if we did that, would we still, and we, you know, I crashed my plane, somebody came out and sprays the clean foam, but we don't know that it's totally clean, do we now have to do remediation of that soil?
That's an answer I really can't give at this point today.
So I feel really uncomfortable with the idea for two reasons of going with a used truck under any of these conditions. One, it doesn't solve the environmental issue. You know, we're not going to know. And I think one of the problems that we face in environmental safety hazards is thinking, you know, being more confident in the safety that we have, but really having this big underlying unknown. So that makes me nervous. It also makes me nervous to think that we're going to go from having a nice staggered age on these big pieces of equipment to having two trucks that are jammed right in a window that together, right? You're talking about two trucks that are like roughly 15 years old. That down the road, that creates like one short time window when both of those trucks would need to be replaced at a really big cost. So that gives me, it doesn't feel great that we're kind of setting up like a little brick wall that we're going to run into. And it also puts us behind the technology, continues to keep us behind in technology. So I really don't support going with a used truck. I don't feel like the board expressed an opinion that was opposed to the new truck, just the funding source. I realize that puts a difficult situation when one of the committees, commissions, and boards that's set up to support the function of this county is fully unresponsive to the requests of committees and the board as a whole. That's not something you're going to be able to fix. It's a structural problem with the crummy governance that we have here in Winnebago County, but making bad decisions after bad decisions, throwing bad money after bad money doesn't feel like a winning strategy here.
Betsy, do you have a comment? Then I add to you.
Yeah, coming from the person who is, I look at this as a safety, and I agree wholeheartedly with Cody when he's just said, absolutely. It makes no sense to me why we would go use when we can't even certify it. Right now, your largest corporate person that's on the field is having a safety audit going on with his beta. And I'm thinking to myself, wow, okay, so we're not gonna have, we're considering not even having a fire station on board. I mean, that just blows my mind that we would even consider this at this point. I don't know what else to do. I mean, to speak and who to have come to our meeting in order to make this more clear, that this is a huge part, an integral part of our county. I mean, it's blowing my mind right now that, they always say, I hear this constantly in our meetings, that there's one life. Okay, so that's what this is. The whole purpose of having a fire safety is to save lives. And I'm really surprised that all this is going on. Secondly, I know this is beating a dead horse, but have you still been in contact with the city of Oshkosh with this stuff?
We've had some conversations with them in the last few months as far as, contribution to like design and engineering funding of a new station. They're certainly not going to help us fund an ARF truck because it's not something that they would necessarily
No, I'm just
need.
trying to think of.
But we have had conversations regarding the design and engineering dollars to go to a new fire station, and so far that really hasn't gone anywhere positive as far as them, being able to contribute to those funds. I think the city's general position is that they provide the staffing year-round for the station and our ARF equipment, which is a significant cost, obviously, to the city. Now, again, it's a joint use station. They are also staffing the structural units that go into the city for city calls.
Mm-hmm.
And we've heard a lot about the fact that they go to many more city calls than they do airfield calls. That's, to me, irrelevant because we're providing coverage.
Right.
So at the same time, they're providing that staffing 365 days a year, 24/7 at that station for any fire risk, any fire call that or a medical call that they should have to go on whether that's north or south of the airfield.
I know, that's why I hate even bringing it up, because I totally understand your outlook on that, and I get that they supply the staffing and so forth. But I know that question's gonna come up yet again.
Right.
As soon as you get up there.
Yep.
I don't know, I'm just irritated at this point, so I'm gonna let.
You let me get frustrated?
Next.
Well, I'm along the same lines as my fellow commissioners, supervisors, whatever. There is a definite need to improve the fire station. It doesn't just handle the airport, it handles the south side of Oshkosh. The cost to the city would be extraordinary, not to mention the purchase land and everything else, to put a fire station somewhere down there. We have the perfect spot. It would be a facility that can be used both by the county and by the city. And I am aghast that anybody wants to even argue that we shouldn't do this. It needs to be done. The future of our county and our city depends on the facilities that we have made available to anybody who wants to move here. And that fire station is an important, integral part for not only the city, but for the county and for the airport. This airport has had a lot of things walk right past it in the past, businesses and whatnot. Why do we want to keep pushing away commercial operations of any sort? Air cargo carrier or another aircraft builder. We've got Basler Retrofit, we've got Skystruck, building experimental aircraft. This could be a mecca, in the middle of the state, in the middle of the country, if we would only have the right tools to offer people. And that's what we're looking at right now is why push things away? We have an opportunity to improve our facility. I'm all for it, but I am aghast that some people are so dead set against it, they can't see through the trees is what it really boils down to. They don't see, the long-term, possibility for here. I know that the things I'm dreaming about will I'll be long gone, okay? I'll be long gone when this stuff goes. Not that I'm in any hurry to leave. But you know what I mean. You know, age-wise, I'll be gone when all the things that I can see happening here might come to fruition. So that's how my feeling. If we can't get the truck, I want the gosh darn fire station at least. You know, if you're not gonna give us both, give us one. Give us something that'll at least.
That's a hell of an attitude.
What?
Oh, he unmuted himself. So.
Okay. Give us
Not
something.
okay. Not
So-
okay, Mr. Last, not okay.
Oh, he hung up.
He just left.
You know. So, with that being said, I'm done.
Anybody else have
I
any?
said one other so you said Eau Claire is getting a new ARF truck?
I believe they just, or if not, took delivery or about to take delivery on the new RV.
They don't have commercial service, right?
They do.
They do.
Yeah, they do.
Okay. Are there other GA airports that you know of that are act quickly trying to jump on these new trucks or the new foam?
The only, in Wisconsin, the only other G airport with an ARF truck is Janesville. And theirs is a 2018.
Okay.
So if anything, they would probably look to retrofit that truck at some point in the future. But, you know, on the retrofitting side of things, that is a slow progression because we just got certified new different alternative foams last fall. And even commercial service airports that we're talking to in the state are kind of taking a bit of a wait and see approach on some of this stuff. Because like I've talked about a fair amount, some of the retrofitting and the cleaning of the trucks and the performance of the new foam, you know, it hasn't been out there that long in the United States being utilized. In fact, I don't know too many airports that are actively using it. I think there's a couple.
In the
Only
United
on our
States,
last-
are you saying it's been
In the
used other
United
places?
States, yeah, I think there was only on our last, but it was a GA airport, it's called for AAA, but I think there's like two airports that have fully made the transition to a new foam. I want to say that's Cedar Rapids, Iowa, and Jackson Hole, Wyoming.
When you say fully, you mean like all of their vehicles have been converted over?
Yeah, that was our
Okay,
understanding.
but there's like lots of,
So 2 airports in the whole country.
yeah, but there's lots of airports that have taken delivery of some of these trucks and just haven't switched out their whole fleet, right?
Well, the new foam was just certified last fall, so I'm not sure anybody that's taken delivery of a new truck in the last couple months may have, but even then, you know, it was something that would have to design and spec.
Yeah.
You know, we've talked to Access Corporation on a new vehicle, it'd be 2 years before we'd see that. I mean, even if once we place the order.
If you're running a big commercial airport, how many of these trucks do you, like if you're running the Seattle airport, how many of these trucks do you have?
Quite a few.
So you're not, yeah, so I mean, you're not gonna switch out your whole fleet in, you know, the 5 months that they've been available. Sure.
And we even had this conversation through WAMA, Wisconsin Airport Management Association, with Milwaukee, and Milwaukee and Madison were like, well, what are you guys doing? You know, I mean, Milwaukee's got, I don't know how many ARF trucks, but quite a few. And so they're like, well, we haven't made the transition yet. We're continuing to evaluate it, but you know, at this point in time, you know, there's no mandate by the FAA that we have to get rid of the old foam. Not yet, but I'm sure there will be in the future.
Yeah.
They will.
I'm sure there will be in the future, but at any rate, you know, there's a lot of commercial service airports that have it. So that, I'm just trying to say that's a longer transition period.
Yeah, no, I gotcha. I mean, I think, you know, right, we're not talking about converting fully over either. We're replacing a vehicle or need to replace a vehicle and trying to do it, I think, in the most forward-looking way possible. I think, you know, to the point of whether we get mandated to do this at some point in the future or not, I think, you know, none of us wanna be passing resolutions asking the board to fund more, you know, contingency money for soil remediation and things like that. We'd sure like to, you know, offer a clean and safe work environment for the firefighters, a clean, safe, you know, way to put out any fires or things like that. If that's available, I think that's what we're saying is, you know, their presentation about the county park last night, and you know, about the premier level of rugby fields that we're setting up, that, you know, that are the eye, you know, the eye of the state, you know, what everybody wants. That I think that's what, you know, a lot of us here are expressing for the airport, that we want to make sure that when we look at the panoply of GA airports in the country, that this is the gold standard.
Yeah, and I agree with you on all this. What was I gonna say? You keep alluding to in this country. So is this foam being used in other countries?
There've been-
that we've seen,
Yeah,
like
and,
results?
right, there have been other countries that have adopted PFAS-free foam years before the United States.
They normally are ahead of us with this stuff, so which countries and what's kind of the,
I think European, I don't know all of them, but I know some European countries have been using fluorine-free foam, that's the word, PFAS-free foam, for some time. My understanding, it takes more of that foam to put out the same fire, basically. And a lot of the bigger airports in like Europe have these bigger ARF vehicles that can carry a lot more foam. I think that's just kind of I'm looking at Cameron because he keeps plenty of tabs on this as well. And that's kind of the stuff we've heard out there is that, yeah, they typically have 3,000 or larger gallon trucks. I don't think a lot of their airports see 1,500 gallon trucks, for instance.
right,
So they're able to supply and carry more foam to fight a fire, but that's been our understanding. So yes, the United States just certified an alternative foam last fall.
okay, and then, he also mentioned something about the premier rugby field, so if the airport is our crowning jewel of our county, I mean, I don't know who wants to argue with that with me, but and not in this committee in particular, they won't. But I mean, seriously, you bring in how much money with just the EEA, with just your general, aviation, we're the largest GA in the state, correct?
By some metrics, yes. Not the largest based aircraft, things like that, but
Right, but the large.
operations count we have. That.
Operations and so forth. We have the EAA, obviously. I mean, we bring in so much revenue to this county. I'm just, why would we not? Anyway, I'm frustrated. I'm just frustrated, so, sorry. My frustration is leaking out to the rest of you.
Okay.
One quick question, and this came up when you were talking with Cody here. The last time we had an accident during EAA, when you had to get the trucks out, and I remember you telling us about cordoning it all off and everything. What does that remediation cost? Approximately.
The accident this past summer where we had to spray foam on the fuel fire, on the aircraft fire, I want to say it was around $40,000. The remediation is around $40,000.
So it's $40,000 to stick with the old foam.
Each shot.
That was one incident,
And it was a relatively small incident.
Oh, yeah.
It was definitely under control. So that's a small incident, $40,000.
Yeah,
correct.
That's something else to think about,
That's a number.
they add $40,000 onto the price of that used truck.
Yeah.
On top of the years you're gonna lose and the fact that you're
And
squishing
it's a
them
2-year
together.
out process?
Roughly 2 years from, more than a year anyhow, between 1 and 2 years, Oshkosh Corporation has said if we order the truck in 2024, we'd likely see it in 2026. Maybe late 2025, but that's kind of where they're at. I've seen a lot of equipment purchases taking about a year and a half at least to get from order to then build and ship. At least a year.
Just to correct you, Jim, I talked to a marketing person at Pierce yesterday, or over the weekend, and they were talking, they were out 4 years.
For Pierce.
yeah.
So if you ordered today, you might see it in 2017, 2018.
Well, our salesperson at Oshkosh Corporation said, figure on 2 years, 2026 timeframe. But again, that's, just a.
So based on all these comments, and based on what we said in February, the resolutions are coming back March 19th with our whereas clause. Because we need to bring it back. And we need to sell it.
I've got a question for Jim, if I know that at different times of the year, the Air Guard, and everybody else uses the facility here. How many times a year, about how many touch and goes, or do you have any idea of what the usage by the military here is?
Military traffic, I don't have that number, but it's somewhat minimal as far as how much military traffic comes in or out during the year. I mean, we don't have a heavy military, training presence at this airport.
Okay, but it is.
They certainly do come and use the airfield,
Right.
but it's somewhat infrequent. I mean, there's training missions that come through, and they might even not, you ask about touch and goes, they might even just do a low approach and not actually touch the pavement, but, that's kind of.
What would happen if something with one of those aircraft,
Well, I'll go to AirVenture, we see every military fighter,
right, but you have the trucks here for
Well,
that.
we have them here year-round, and so that's the thing, it's a year-round coverage where, we've got large aircraft that operate in and out of here year-round, and so, DC-3s, Challengers from Oshkosh Corporation, those sorts of things, and but during AirVenture, we see every modern fighter jet that you can imagine, we see just about every, large military cargo aircraft that carry a ton of fuel in or out of here, so the need is pretty great for ARF coverage. I know there's been, statements made that we only need it for 10 days out of the year, and only because of our 139 exemption, which covers certain air carrier flights, but we need, for AirVenture's sake, we need ARF coverage at the level we have or greater, for sure, for every single crazy, type of aircraft that come in, we get everything. And so we need that.
Well, and I was just curious because I live not too far from here, and they constantly fly over me several times a year for like 3 to 4 weeks at a time. And sometimes they make those high-speed turns a little too fast. So I was just curious, how often do they come through here? Because yes, I understand during your venture, we've got coverage. We've got from, you had mentioned once before, you bring it from where, central Wisconsin?
Well, it's a short-term solution to accomplish half of our ARF index for AirVenture that we've been loaning or borrowing a truck from Central Wisconsin Airport.
Okay.
Because I know that's been mentioned as well. We've talked about that. That's a short-term solution. We can't count on that every single year. And that's to utilize in place of our 1986 truck that we're looking to replace. Right. Because it can't perform like we need it to any longer.
So let's be enthusiastic and let's.
So one last question, again, a lot of this stuff I'm asking, so that way it's out there, so that way we have it at the tip of our tongue for the next meeting. Are we required to pay in advance, or can we pay up until, pay payments up until the delivery of the vehicle? I'm just trying to think of something that would be an easier sell.
Yeah.
Budget-wise.
Right, yeah, no, that's a great question. I can't answer that offhand, but I can
Have that answer for the 19th, please. And I think that'll help.
I can give you a clue about a fire truck. Our town has got a fire truck on order. It's taking 3 years. We get here and there. They're making payments.
Right.
And then they make the big payment when the truck is delivered.
And if we get,
They
and I
have
think
all
that's
sorts of plans like that they will
and I think
offer.
that's a lot easier way to sell it, especially to the board, who's has sit on this lump sum.
You have to
Easy
put a down
payments of
payment down.
$19.99. We love that, don't we?
Just trying to come up with something there that'll.
All sorts of,
That was a blast from
Ways
the
to-
1980s.
Exactly, and I think that's
That's
something
good.
we definitely need to approach the board with.
Who's that guy in there?
All right. so that's number A, letter A. Thank you for all your comments, I appreciate it. ATCT BIL grant project update, Jim?
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. In 2023, we were fortunate to receive a bill grant that we applied for through FAA. Bill is the bipartisan infrastructure law. And so these were competitive grants that, nationwide, folks that own aircraft or air traffic control towers were submitting for. We are utilizing that in the next few days or weeks, finally, to make some upgrades to the tower, the security system, some CCTV cameras, the window shades up in the tower cab, a whole other number of things, the phone system that we're upgrading with this funding. Originally, we had intended that bill grant to be utilized to replace the chiller system in the tower, but for this committee's recollection, when we were awarded that bill grant, we had a very tight turnaround time for the FAA, and a number of factors kind of contributed to the fact that we were unable to get that chiller work into the grant for the 2023 bill grant. That being said, we've actually applied, there's another round of funding for control towers, identical to what it was last year, that are again competitive bill grants that we applied for last fall or late last late last fall, early winter time. We should know end of March, early April if we're successful in receiving another bill grant for the tower, and that would be dedicated to replacing the chiller system. So we're hopeful because we had a relatively small ask the last time around. This ask was a little bit higher just to ensure that we could do the chiller replacement to the best of our abilities. And so we'll know on that here hopefully within the next month. That said, we had budgeted originally $70,000 for the chiller replacement in our airport's operating budget and capital outlay for 2023. I believe the P&F meeting is tomorrow, but we're requesting to carry over the remainder. So we did the design work already on the chiller replacement, so we have cost estimates. But the remainder is $52,000 to carry over to supplement the eventual replacement of that system. The minimum is that we got kind of two estimates from the design firm on replacing the system. The minimum just to replace what we have now is about $120,000, their estimate. And in order to install a redundant system, essentially, which I believe is two chiller systems, in the event that one goes down, was significantly more than that, about $200,000. So we're at least looking to put the funds together to replace what we have now. And if we get the bill grant, then we'll be able to replace it and actually do the redundant system, which would be great. And I know there's benefits to that. This is certainly why we're looking at that with the redundant system. So we're carrying over the funds, unspent funds from last year to the following year. If we're unable to secure the bill grant, or if we're not awarded it, then we'd be coming back to the county for supplemental funding on getting the chiller system replaced because it needs it. We've been talking about that now for a while. So that is the update on not only the about to be ongoing work with the upgrades we're making, but kind of looking forward to the next projects. And not to throw anything else out there, but the boiler in the tower this last few weeks is starting to give us some serious issues as well.
Oh, good God.
Well, we're working with facilities on making sure we get the repairs done correctly, but it went out 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks ago. And we were without repair parts, so we were down the boiler for about 3 days before we got the repairs. Facilities made the repairs on the following Monday. And we did everything we could to keep them warm and comfortable up in the tower cabin. We got by, but I guess the boiler system, the boiler itself is proving to have a number of issues as well. Really isn't something that we've been made aware of until recent, but our folks that kind of maintain it have said, well, we've been kind of saying something for years and it just hasn't really gotten to us. So, it's something that we're continuing to look at and make sure that, if we continue to have major issues with that boiler, we kind of have to look at potential replacement down the line too. But I'd say the chiller system is definitely the higher priority still.
Was, when the facility studies went through, was that on the list
The tower?
with the boiler system?
Well, the tower was certainly on the list. I think overall it had a very good bill of health. I'd have to dig deeper to see if they said anything about the boiler. I don't want to call that, but I'll take a look.
I was just curious.
Right, yeah, no, I didn't look too much at the tower because we already knew we were needing to replace the chiller system. And the boiler, that's been fairly recent that it's started to show.
Maybe it's just one hiccup.
Yeah, hopefully.
How old do you know how old the boiler is?
The tower was built in 2008, so it's 15 years old. So is the chiller system. So, and before, go there, I mean, it's a control tower. They're very unique buildings. I was in Cheyenne, Wyoming for about 10 years. We had similar problems with the control tower, which was about the same age as this one. It's an FAA design building. I won't say much more than that, but also a federally funded project. But I guess this is my second experience with HVAC issues in a, not that old facility with control tower. So it's not, it's still astounding to me. We have a fire station that's boiler's finally going after 50 years, and we have a 15-year-old control tower that we have any issues with. But I
Was it under three?
learn something new every day, right?
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you, Kim. Item 4, Deputy Director's Report.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This will be my last Aviation Committee meeting working for Winnebago County. I accepted a job in Reno, Nevada at the airport there. So I'll be moving at the end of this month. turns out you take what you have for granted, and I miss the mountains. And Reno's right next to the Sierra Nevadas, and I'm looking forward to getting back to some mountain activities. So moving out there at the end of the month.
Beautiful area up there.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
They just got a huge snowstorm.
Yes, yeah, 10 feet, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, good luck.
Wow.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Will you be the manager?
No, it's a much bigger airport. There's 300 employees,
Oh.
and so I'm kind of a middle manager there in the operations department.
Wow. Best to you.
No state income
That's correct. No social security tax either.
tax.
so,
No, there is not.
State retirement, so.
No.
Oh.
I know, it's
If you don't
one of those
gamble,
things
is
we
it?
always look at.
Nevada's a great place to live.
So,
It's a great, all of Nevada's beautiful.
So I'd like to say to the committee, I wanted Cameron to make his announcement because it's his news to share, but we've been incredibly fortunate to have Cameron here on our staff for the last 3 years, almost 3 years. And I couldn't envision a better person to be in the spot he's been in. Really happy for his new opportunity out in Reno. And I think the county and the airport committee and the tenants have probably hopefully all seen the fact that, he's been a great addition to our staff. We're sad to see him go, but we obviously always want to see people grow and prosper and take the next opportunity that works the best for them. So,
Not just because you're tall, it's big shoes to fill.
I will be back every year for AirVenture, so. I'll be visiting.
that said, we'll be posting Cameron's position, should be tomorrow, actually. So we have that in the works already, so. That's a report. That's my report.
Okay, that's it. Wow. All
Big
right.
turnover for you.
Kim, now you got a new job.
It's gonna be a big turnover for the new committee.
All right, number 5, discuss and approve a lease renewal between Aviation Services LLC and Winnebago County.
Move to approve?
Second.
Any discussion on that? Any questions?
How old is that building, by the way, that hangar?
That aviation services in,
I mean, it's a bunker.
Yeah.
I would have to say the 50s, probably 50s era or early 60s.
Okay.
It is a bunker.
Yeah. I'll just note, for all 3 of these, the last lease that came to the board, in the resolution had the rent listed, whatever it was, $385 per year instead of per month. We don't have sample resolutions, but just as you are taking this action and getting it put into the resolution form, just a note to double check that.
So on anything that's a year or less, it won't go to the county board.
Okay,
Anything more than a year does go to the county.
okay.
Is it in the agenda item report?
We don't have a resolution in our packet on this one. I'm sorry, the last, I think what month are we in? Yeah, Fred's. It said, per year, so, sorry, I had
Fred did a
to.
great deal.
Yeah, right?
Oh no, somebody caught that right away, don't
That's
worry,
what
Fred.
hell of a.
Ultimately, with the resolutions get drafted by corp council, but that's a great point. We need to continue to, we obviously missed that one, so.
Yeah, I don't know, whatever, I'm not putting any blame, just
No, I understand.
raising it, because
Yep.
I know you don't thankfully have to sit through all of that for one little consent agenda item. But I just didn't know if that loop had gotten closed.
I believe so. We'll double check on that.
All right, so if there's no more discussion, let's take a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 6, discuss and approve a hangar lease between Winnebago Flying Club, Inc. and Winnebago County.
Move to approve.
Second?
Motion's been made and seconded to approve. Any discussion?
You've already got their hangar filled? Your old one?
No, we're going to.
Yeah, you
I
still got a
gotta get-
list for that, don't you?
Oh, yeah, I've got a
Okay.
major list.
All right. That's the only discussion I have.
Okay. Anything else? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. All right, item 7, discuss and approve an easement agreement with Wisconsin Public Service Corporation.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Wisconsin Public Service is looking to, I believe, reroute an existing electrical line and then make a new connection to a building owned by the FAA, which is very close to the air traffic control tower. There is a diagram in the packet at the end of the easement exhibit that shows it right next to basically what's Walcott Avenue, and then into the small storage facility that is owned by the FAA. And that building is used by FAA Tech Ops, which has offices in the tower, just general equipment storage for the work that they do. And so this is just an easement agreement to allow that electrical to go in that area, fairly standard and straightforward, but happy to answer any questions.
Move to approve.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to approve. Any questions, discussions, comments? Seeing any? I'll call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 8, operations and maintenance report. Back to you.
Yeah, back to me. Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Chris is out sick today. And by the way, I'll mention Chris is doing great. He fit right into the new role, doing excellent. He's requiring less assistance than I initially anticipated, so he's doing awesome. So here's what him and the guys have been working on lately. The first thing is we just purchased a new Kubota skid steer that was in the budget for this year, and that replaces a 1980s gasoline skid steer that was all but useless. We only used it for very small projects because it had no power. And so this is going to be used year-round. The skid steer will have attachments including a bucket for landscaping work, a snow pusher, which will be the smallest snow pusher we have, which will allow us to do detail work in the parking lot here, at the shop, and at the control tower, which we take care of. And then also, as you saw last month during the pictures and the presentation, we do quite a bit of small concrete jobs, and so we're getting a concrete breaker, which is something we haven't had before to help with those jobs. So that's a great addition to our fleet. Summer project, the beacon display. So the beacon that we've been talking about that we're restoring, or that we have restored, we're going to be mounting in the front of this building as a display. That will be put up this summer, so we're looking forward to having that in front of the terminal. End of March into April, it takes about a month to do, but we're doing the hangar inspections. So hangar inspections are primarily for safety, so each year we go and inspect every hangar that we own one by one, lubing up gears, checking cables, guides for all the doors. And so we'll start that, and then we also inspect to make sure that tenants are using their hangars for authorized purposes only. So this is where we get a report with pictures from our guys, and then we'll send letters and try to correct any discrepancies in what people have in their hangars. We did order, also in the budget for this year, or last year, we ordered a plow/small dump truck replacement. So this replaces 2 vehicles, that one's from the 70s, one's from the 80s. And so that has been ordered, and I don't have a time on there, but I know it has not been, the build has not started yet. And then also Robert Coates, want to congratulate him. He was promoted to Operator 2 position. That was Chris's position that Chris vacated. Robert meets all the requirements. He's a great employee, came over from facilities. And he's also taking on the airport lighting role, which is a very specialized, unique role we have. Trained, we're going to send him to class this year on the specifics of airport lighting, so he'll be in charge of that. So we want to congratulate him. And then we are basically hiring to fill Robert's role in an Operator 1 position, and we have interviews tomorrow for that position. And we do have I believe three candidates for interviews, so that's a good amount. So we're happy with that. And that's all I have, unless there's any questions.
Just have a comment. I want to say how great it is that we have qualified people who have been able to step up into these roles, people who've been with the airport, people who learned and like working here. And that shows a lot about the work environment and how you guys handle all the things that are behind the scenes, all the training, and just keeping it all up to speed and everything. So I just want to compliment you guys on the fact that this is becoming smoother as we go along. Obviously, your position is not going to be the same. You'll probably be looking a little more broadly to fill that role. But as far as these other roles, it's great that we have these people that are stepping up in those positions like that. So good job on your part.
All right, number 9, EAA report. Jim?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I don't really have a lot. Obviously, we're in full mode and locked in a lot of the acts that would be performing at AirVenture. Ticket sales are up compared to last year, with 13-15% right now. We're adding some more electrical sites to our campgrounds, so we're increasing that. And I think with this great weather, we were able to get ahead of the grounds and everything is moving forward for another successful area.
I'll do that one thing. Oh, so one thing just regarding AirVenture and communication to our tenants. We do have the snowbirds this year, and so that requires an expanded aerobatic box, more than just our standard aerobatic box for any given year with AirVenture. It is smaller than like when we have the Blue Angels or the Thunderbirds, but it is still expanded versus the normal aerobatic box. So it will require some restrictions on the east side primarily. Some of our tenants and hangar tenants and businesses over there, like Myers and Sonics are, that sort of area. Just during the Snowbirds performances, folks will have to relocate to a tent that EAA is going to put up over on the east side. It's very, very similar to when the Blue Angels were here last, but just a smaller box. And also it affects businesses on the east side of the airport, primarily like Oshkosh Corporation, their manufacturing facilities. I think historically everybody's been very cooperative because it's something where we're asking for their cooperation to just relocate for approximately an hour and a half for 3 days. So Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, I believe, are the Snowbirds performances.
Relocates the entire time.
What's that?
Oshkosh Corporate relocates the entire time.
Right. Yeah, with their aircraft for sure. And so it's something that communication went out last week or the week prior, and that communication came from us, and then we said there would be a follow-on communication directly from EAA once like more of the fine details are known. But we're communicating very early with the tenants this year since we haven't had an expanded aerobatic box since 2017 when the Blue Angels were here. So we're very excited about the Snowbirds, and so far, honestly, I don't think anybody replied saying, how dare you, that sort of thing. But everybody's, I'm sure, will be very good with the tent that EA is going to put up. I think it'll be catered with some food and some beverages. And so it's a great cooperative effort to just ensure not only that everybody can enjoy the show, but we have to ensure the safety of the performances as well. So
Does that work for residents over there?
I don't think there's too much residential that's impacted by. No, Red Oak Court's not impacted.
Okay.
No. Red Oak Court is outside the box.
Okay.
I think you have one house on Goose.
The one off the M3 one, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's.
Okay, yep.
Oh, yeah. When the first ever two years, it's considered mine.
Okay. Chairman's report. We don't have anything. 11. Committee member statements, suggestions, items for future agenda. So this committee will have one more meeting. Maybe
In March and
all right, April, excuse me. One more. And then we don't know where anybody stands after that.
We'll have all five back this year.
Actually, when we have the meeting, we'll know if anybody's not coming back or if they are.
Right, but we won't know
The
who
only
the committee
contested one
is.
here, you
I'm contested.
Yeah.
Whoever's rerunning in is contested, they're all gonna win.
Oh, I hope so.
He's got somebody, she's got somebody, he's got somebody.
Wow.
Well, if I'm elected, this is the only committee I'm putting in for next term.
Why I put myself
That doesn't
in this, I
guarantee
don't
you're
know.
I have one
When is
thing.
April?
What's that?
April.
April 3rd.
The morning after.
The morning after. The morning after, it's gonna be happy or sad, I don't know one way, but mostly happy.
Hopefully they can work for me.
April 3rd, is that good with
Later
you?
tonight.
The following week, we'll be gone at Emerald Americas,
Oh,
so.
yeah.
Okay. I need a motion.
I had one.
Oh, you have another thing? Okay.
And just, sorry, I didn't put it on the agenda, but it was just item of FYI for the committee. On March 20th, so 2 weeks from today, we'll be exhibiting again at the Chamber's Business Expo down at the Convention Center. This year, the theme is County Fair. So the county is having a pretty big presence. I think typically it's just been the airport that have been exhibiting as far as county departments for the last few years. But the county's all going to be together on one big area at the kind of the back of the convention center. So there's a number of departments that are going to be represented, the airport being one of them, of course. And so if you have time, anytime during basically, I think it's like 11 to 5 or 11 to 7 for the Chambers Expo. If you have time to stop down and say hi, certainly do that. But we'll be there all day on the 20th. And we're excited to be one with our county family at that.
Who else is gonna, what other departments are gonna be there?
Human resources, parks, there's a few others, I
Okay.
can't remember them all. Yeah. I think probably about half a dozen, 6 or 7 departments.
Wow.
So we're excited for it.
Okay. Must be excited. It should be. All right, we need a motion.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to adjourn. All those in favor?
Aye. I'll see you guys.
All right, thank you.
Have a good day.
Good luck, Cameron.
Thank you.